Welcome to the latest edition of Blue Monday. It could be a pretty outside, and we have got the prospect of a local lockdown in Liverpool City region later on. But away from all that, the good news is the Toffees are back next weekend. The bad news is it's against Liverpool. It's all swings and roundabouts. I'm joined as usual by Matt Jones, just to talk through some of the international results and performances over the weekend. And I've just picked up a little news story there. United can probably hear me WhatsApp going off in the background there. On deadline day, Man United rejected an offer from Everton to cover the entirety of Sergio Romero's £100,000 a week wages, as well as a £2 million loan fee. That sounds absurd, doesn't it, that United would turn that down, given the fact that he's third choice and isn't going to play for them?
Yeah, it just feels like harsh on him, more than anything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's he's basically going to be sat there, unless he goes to like MLS or something. He's just going to be sat there now doing nothing for the entire campaign. And by and large, I think when he's been there, he's been a good backup to them. Seems like a good character.
Yeah.
He's popular with the supporters. It's just a bit arse from United, that, isn't it, really? And I suppose the one thing you could say, mate, is they might look at it and see how well Everton have started the season and say, you haven't got to buy this fellow, or, we're not putting him out on loans here to potentially improve the one big weakness you've got in your squad when, everything could actually be up there this season and fight with United. So maybe there's a bit of that, but, if you're Romero, you're sitting there a bit gutted, aren't you, by and large?
Yeah.
Go on, mate, sorry.
I was just going to say that I think that can only be the only explanation for it, Connor, that they look at us as a threat. I think Tottenham probably looked the same when we went after their third choice keeper. They see us as a big threat this season, which is great from our point of view. But it's a mad one, isn't it? Because players have said, like when the Bosman ruling came out, players were like, look, we don't want to be treated as commodities. We have careers that we care about. In this case, as you said, the fella's going to be sat there doing nothing when he could be playing for us.
Yeah. And I think we linked with three of them, weren't we, on deadline day? Romero, Gazaniga, and Olsen, who eventually came. I think of the three, Romero would have been the one you could maybe say, he could actually just come in and replace Pickford.
Yeah,
straight away, because he's shown he's got enough experience. He's shown it, in the Premier League. He's shown in Europe he can do it. And I think he's the one that maybe that's why they were pushing so hard to get him. That he could have come in and just you could put him in for Saturday's game against Pickford and think Everton are probably a better team as a result of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas Olsen hasn't really played much, obviously, similar to Romero, but has made a lot of mistakes and seems to be, his confidence and his game needs to be rebuilt quite a lot. But yeah, disappointing one that really, but. At least they managed to get somebody in who could potentially provide some cover and provide some stiffer competition. But yeah, poor Sergio. I mean, you still get $100,000 a week, like, and doing nothing for it. But
he is. But when you just want to play football, it must be a nightmare. That.
Yeah.
So we did get Olsen in. I was just looking through the results at the weekend. He wasn't actually playing for Sweden, was he?
No, he didn't play.
We're there, yeah. So. Not much to say on him. I think one thing I would say though, as ropey as Pickford is, it would be insane to throw him in for the derby, wouldn't it?
Obviously. Oh yeah, Pickford starts like 800%.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, sort of letter the devil, kind of thing. I don't know. I think it would be mad to not start him. Just looking at the weekend's results, then Colombia beat Venezuela 3-0.
Bad injury in that game, wasn't there?
Who was I? Didn't see.
Yeah, for Arias, who we were obviously linked with quite a lot.
Right back.
Yeah, it was a bad one. It was one of those foot pointing the wrong way sort of injuries.
Oh, Jesus.
So he's going to be out for a while. I think he went to Leverkusen in the end, did he?
Yeah, I think he did, yeah. I mean, this is always the worry, isn't it? It's like, we often say, we're not asked about international football, but the fact is, players are. Calvert-Lewin wants to play. As much as we don't really care about England, Calvert-Lewin wants to play for England. All footballers generally want to play for the country. So when they get called up, it's huge, and you've got to back them because it's sort of leading up to the pinnacle of the career, maybe playing in a World Cup tournament. But especially given that there's 3 games in a week, you're just on tenterhooks the whole time, aren't you? Thinking just one slip, one bad tackle, anything can happen. Mina got injured last season doing a little shimmy to get to he did a style, didn't he? So it doesn't take much. So the extra games it has you on pins, especially leading up to the derby.
Yeah, I went to bed when that game was kicking off on Friday night and I thought, I do not want to wake up to Yerry Mina injured, James Rodriguez injured or something like that. You just pray when you get up. You don't have like any messages in your WhatsApp group or Twitter notifications, but
Yeah, well, we've got to sweat out Chile v Colombia on Tuesday, haven't we? Now,
Chile
it's tomorrow.
Chile are notoriously a la shit
Yeah.
house team, aren't they, as well? You know, I think they have some spiky games between them two. So, you know,
Yeah.
their manager will be saying, kick James as much as you can. To try
God, without a doubt, yeah.
So, yeah, that's a bit of a worry. Is that it? Is that all the games they've got then? Or have they got any others?
I think that's it. I think it's tomorrow, Chile v Colombia. Nigeria play Tunisia. Obviously, Alex Iwobi involved in that one. He was involved in a 1-0 defeat to Algeria as well. What else happened? Brazil played Bolivia, won 5-0. Richarlison came on a sub.
Yeah.
The most surprising thing about that is Firmino scored 2.
Oh, God.
Which is what we want him finding his range, just leading up to the derby, don't we?
I suppose it's good that Richarlison played though, isn't it? Because when he went off against Brighton, I sort of thought he's going to be a real doubt for the derby now.
Yeah.
But the fact he's gone. You know, I wasn't too happy that he went out on international duty, to be honest. I thought he maybe should have rested. But the fact he's gone and has played suggests he's fighting fit. So that bodes well at least. But I suppose there's another worry here, isn't there, mate? Those two for Colombia and him aren't going to get back from their international duties till probably Thursday or Friday. And then we've got the half-12 kickoff. There's a bit of a worry there.
It's not done us a favour at all, a half-12 kickoff, has it? No surprise BT are behind it as well. I think the thing with Richarlison as well is going away to Brazil, you get the feeling that that's exactly what he would have wanted. Sitting around Finch Farm would have done his head in.
Yeah, that's true, to be fair.
He gets involved in it. He sort of buys into the whole Brazil thing, and you see on like the All or Nothing documentary, he's fully integrated into that squad now. So I think from a sort of mindset point of view, it will have done him well. And as you said, the fact that he got on the pitch sort of bodes well that he's going to be fit for the weekend.
There was that video of him, wasn't there, as well, serving lunch for everyone because he lost a bet. I can't remember which player it was, So he seems to be enjoying himself at least, anyway.
Yeah, he has a great time. Even Yerry Mina just seems to have a great time. The mad thing about Richarlison, though, is he always looks like the most miserable get on the pitch, doesn't he? He's always got a goal on. But off the pitch, he just seems like the soundest lad going. What else did we? France v Portugal 0-0. Dean didn't play, so the two big ones were obviously the 2 England games and the Iceland game. So we'll just pick up on England quickly first. Obviously 3-0 against Wales. Calvert-Lewin got his customary one-touch goal. He did well. He looked good. I thought that looked a relatively good side as well. The fact that Grealish got dropped for the next game was just bizarre. But I thought he did well, and then he came on a sub against Belgium, didn't he? I didn't watch it.
No, he started against Belgium. He started
against Belgium.
He started that one as well. It was a different sort of game. I think he did well against Belgium, to be fair, but it was England were playing very deep and defensive, and Belgium were playing 3 centre halves. So a lot of it was just lash the ball up to Dom and see if something can stick and play off him, which he did quite well, really. But
he learned that under Allardyce, didn't he?
Harry Kane came on for him after about an hour. So, but I think the positive thing from that point of view now is you'd hope that England have got 3 games, haven't they? So there's Denmark still to come.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So you'd hope now, having started the first 2 games, that he will not be involved in that Denmark match.
Yeah, I think given that Harry Kane came on as well, you'd fancy him to start the Denmark game.
Yeah, but surely, at this point in the season, with an early kick-off and all that sort of thing, you'd like to think that Southgate will be sensible and say, well, I can't play this lad 3 games in a row. It's ridiculous. He played loads of footy as it is. So surely he won't be involved. I don't think Michael Keane played. He didn't play on Sunday.
No, he didn't play at all, did he?
Maybe he'd be involved. Although, watching Eric Dyer, I think he probably should be getting a game. My word.
Oh, God, he's terrible, isn't he? I thought Keane did well against Wales as well.
Yeah, he was fine, wasn't he? Yeah.
I think this season, one thing we can say is his touch seems to have come on a lot.
Yeah.
So it was that ball he played through in the cup game against West Ham.
Yeah.
Where he suddenly turned into Franco Baresi.
That was lovely, that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think his overall, he looks more confident on the ball now. And he did against Wales. He was sort of strolling out defence, which is something we've not really seen and we don't associate with him. So hopefully he's coming on leaps and bounds in confidence and sort of ability on the ball. Really,
I suppose he's properly in the conversation to start now. I remember about a year ago we were having this conversation about what's the point in Michael Keane going off on international duty, because Gomez and Maguire and even John Stones at that point felt like shoo-ins for those positions, and Tomori was coming through as well. But Gomez has had a ropey start to the season. John Stones has fallen off a cliff. Harry Maguire's just looks horrendous every time he plays.
Comedic now, isn't he?
And like all of a sudden, like Keane, by virtue of all them just being terrible and him elevating his performances a lot, he's up there as one of England's most dependable centre-back options now, you'd have to say, all things considered.
Yeah, he's got to be considered the first choice, hasn't he? As he said, if Harry Maguire was getting first choice, he's been terrible this season. But culminating in that horror show against Tottenham, where he dragged his own player out the way for their first goal, I think, wasn't it?
The whole, I don't know, this is England based, but just watching that the weekend, you think the amount of talented attacking players they've got there, and they're playing 3 right backs and 2 older midfielders.
Bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, I just didn't get it. But I Dom had to feed off scraps as a result, and you probably can't wait to get back to playing with James and Richarlison, because it was very, like you referenced the Allardyce sort of time there. That game on Sunday felt very much like what the old Dom used to do, where he was just flogged up front. He had to chase into the channels and win flick-ons and just be a bit of a pest.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe he's much better than that now.
Yeah, hopefully he's on forward to getting back to Finch Farm with everyone fit, and you'll be just tapping them in for a few yards on Saturday.
Yeah, netting 3 in his first 3 touches on Saturday. So I think probably the biggest winner out of these international games was possibly Gylfi Sigurdsson with his 2 goals against Romania, which were absolute stunners. He tipped off the last international game for them, didn't he? For Iceland.
Yeah, I don't think he was involved, was he?
Oh, didn't he? Yeah. So they got beat by 3-0 by Denmark last night, but the 2-1 win against Romania, he scored 2 great goals. And I don't know, he doesn't look like a player now who we all sort of want to bomb out the club, does he? Or he doesn't for me anyway.
No.
I think with the quality we've got around him and without the pressure on him, he can come in and very much do his sort of job without having to do the tracking back or the tackling or any of the dirty stuff that he obviously doesn't like to do. So yeah, I mean, he looks like he could be an important part of the team this season, which is some turnaround after the Bournemouth game, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's fine to say that you can say, was he a bit of a luxury last year who phoned it in and didn't look bothered? Yeah, he did. Yeah. That's absolutely right. But you can also say, was he playing in a position deeper in a 4-man midfield that didn't suit him at all? And you could say, yeah, that's probably right as well. Both of those things can be true. And it seems like with Sigurdsson, it's like, he doesn't care. He phones it in. He's a shithouse, and therefore we need to get rid of him. And then you've got other people saying, well, he didn't play in his position, so that's why things weren't going well. Both of those things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that position that him and Gomez have sort of played to start the season, tucked in on the left-hand side of that midfield 3, given a bit of freedom to get forward and find spaces, it feels like that can really suit him. And I've seen people, we put the goals out on the Blue Room social, and there were a lot of people saying that they play him ahead of Gomez in the derby on Saturday. And I'm not entirely sure about that, but I think regardless, what you've got to say is that he's a good option, isn't he, if you want to bring him on for the last half an hour now. And all of a sudden, he doesn't look like a player that you've got to carry in the side. It feels like there's people in that midfield who can do the running for him. And if the game's a bit slower and it opens up a little bit, then he can pick passes. He can have shots at goal. And those 2 goals he scored at the weekend against Romania were just vintage Sigurdsson goals, weren't they? Edge of the box, finding a yard and finishing well. That's exactly where you want him on the ball. You don't want him turning round in midfield, chasing midfielders round and trying to win the ball back. That's not his game at all. You need to find him 20, 25 yards out with a little half a yard, and he can make things happen then. And I think that the thing with him is that it's probably, now he's lost a bit of pace and a little bit of his energy, he's probably only going to find those little half yards late in games when the pace is slowed down a little bit. And maybe that's why coming off the bench will suit him a lot more this season. I mean, I wouldn't start him on Saturday. I can understand why people probably would. But he's looking like an asset again, which is really encouraging, given, like you said, mate, so many people have written him off, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I think myself included. I do think that sort of last half hour coming on a sub suits him as the game stretched out. I think if we play Gomez for the first 60, 65, he can do his thing on the pitch. He gets to play his faces as well. He must be frustrating to play against because he loves to shield the ball and frustrate the opposition. So as the game gets stretched towards the end, if you can bring on someone like Sigurdsson who can find the yard of space and crack a shot from anywhere, it's a nice option to have. And it just adds to the balance of that squad now and the team. So I think our first 11, I keep saying this, keep banging on about this, but it's one of the things I think Howard Kendall referenced in the mid-80s, that your side needs balance. It doesn't matter what superstars you've got on your team. If the team isn't balanced, it doesn't work. And we found that, didn't we? The summer of Koeman and Walsh. It doesn't matter who you buy. If your team isn't balanced, it doesn't function. This team very much is now. And he can add to that. He adds to the balance of the squad. So him having a good sort of international break, or at least one game, because the other one sounded a bit of a nightmare, getting beat 3-0 by Denmark.
Yeah.
Having a decent game international, it all bodes well for us. And it will do a lot for the mentality of these players, if they're going away with the international squad and they are getting good results. So
could be interested in the comments. Let us know if you'd start him or Gomez on Saturday. Because you'd say Sigurdsson's more of a goal threat, and look at the way in which Villa's midfield with Barkley and Grealish found so much space, particularly in that area of the pitch, actually on like the left-hand channel. Would you say you put Sigurdsson in there because he can score goals and make things happen in the final third, or would you say, as much as they were dreadful against Villa, the Reds, you might need that bit of control in Gomez a little? Someone who's not going to get forward into the box as much, but can settle the game down a little bit if you need it. So that's a big call, that. And of course, Gomez was injured, wasn't he, as well, before the break? So I'm not entirely sure how fit he's going to be, albeit he's not going away with Portugal. So feels like a big call all of a sudden. That's the one position in the side, isn't it? You look at the moment, mate, and say that it feels like that's up for grabs, that position. Everywhere else feels relatively secure and settled if everyone's fit, doesn't it? But that third midfield, the midfielder with freedom, you'd say Gomez, Sigurdsson, and even Bernard should be all thinking, I can get in the team in that position.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because Bernard could sit in there, couldn't he, as well? Yeah. He'd be a good option there, We'll obviously look ahead to the derby on what's the score, but just to briefly touch on it now, it's impossible to say how this is going to go, purely because Liverpool have just been battered 7-2. Now, we've never gone into a derby on the back of them getting webbed 7-2, ever.
Yeah.
I don't think many teams have ever played them on the back of them getting leathered 7-2. So you kind of wonder, this could go one of two ways. What we've got to do there, we've got to get our shots away early and pressure on them early, because if they concede early, could cave in. But you kind of get the feeling that this is the game where they're going to have to bounce back. They're going to have to show something, and could make it really tight for us. And I think that's what they'll be doing. I mean, it's a nice position for us to be in, given the players we've got, that they're going to be looking to not concede for the first 20.
Yeah.
Which is how we normally approach games, isn't it? Derbies, we normally go and say, right, ride out the first 20, take it from there. This time around, it's going to be them who are going to be looking to do that, I'd say.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The one thing I'd say about it is that I would be very surprised if they didn't respond and put in a strong performance, because as much as we don't want to say it, they haven't got to where they've got to by being weak-minded and unsure of their abilities and doing things wrong. That the game against Villa yielded some things that Everton should be looking to exploit, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I would be surprised if they were there, so obviously again. And, as much as you want to sit here and slag them off, and, they can be horrible at times, the manager and those players have won everything, haven't they, over the last 2 years? They've won everything. They've overcome all challenges in front of them. And whenever they've lost matches, they've tended to respond pretty well. The one thing I will say is that, like I said, we'll get into this more in the week, but away from home recently, since Atletico Madrid beat them in the Champions League, away from home they have been a bit dicey. They've lost to Watford, they've lost to Arsenal.
I think by City.
City spanked them, didn't they? As well. Mm. Villa, obviously, and these, it's not as if like the narrow defeats these either. Watford 3-0. No. City 4 or 5, was it? I think it was 4-0 in the end, wasn't it? 7 for Aston Villa.
I know.
You've been conceding goals a lot away from home, so there is something there. It's not that has been there for a while, but it's a big game. He'll have been at them all week. They'll have Mane back by the looks of it, won't they, and Thiago, so they're big boosts to them. Albeit there's reports today that the Kite is going to be out because he's tested positive for COVID. But I'd be dead surprised if they didn't respond. But the thing you could say now, mate, is that if Liverpool in last season come into that game and played well, then Everton would get blown away. At the moment, it feels like this Everton side have sort of got what it takes to if Liverpool come in and play well, then Everton can maybe match them a little bit better than they would have been able to 12 months ago, 6 months ago.
Yeah. definitely. I think my worry is that the footballing gods are going to take revenge on us for the fact that he conceded 3 deflected goals in one game.
Yeah.
It was not happen to them.
It was almost like every law of football that we've been used to. Just been like, on that day, it was like, right, we're just going to write these off. And United are going to get smashed at home. Liverpool are going to get smashed at home.
Yeah.
And in response to that, they've sort of thought, well, do you know what? We'll show you lot. You know, we've been battered. Both of us have been battered. We're going to take control of the Premier League and the Football League and make every decision with a new project. Up yours.
Yeah. It does scream at that, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, throwing the toys off the pram.
Yeah, you were talking to Dave about that this morning on the Blue Room breakfast, and we'll just quickly pick up on that just before we go. It's odd, isn't it? It's so cynical, and the fact that it's United and Liverpool sort of backing it. You know, two clubs with sort of leverage business models maybe can't spend the money that they'd like to be able to spend at the minute. Everyone, you know, it's been called a power grab, and that's essentially what it is. But to sort of use the fact that we're going to be giving the EFL, we're going to be rescuing the EFL, but the money we're going to give them, well, you can do that without these new rules.
Yeah,
you know, the Premier League can still do that. And the thing that sort of struck me as a concern is, so it starts off with this 9 clubs, but only 6 need to vote on it. So at what point did they just say, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just knock this down to 6 clubs, and they all vote on it? 3 clubs haven't got a hope in hell of voting for it, and then suddenly you've got 6 clubs running the league.
And they'll be able to
tokenism.
Yeah, they'll be able to vote through that proposal because the rules are in place for them to do it. So
you know, it's no coincidence, is it, that they've said, well, you need 6 to vote it through, and there's actually 6 clubs who've got a massively vested interest in this. Yeah. Disappointing thing for me as well is that there don't seem to have been enough Reds slating it online. Twitter, a lot of them seem to be at pains to try and justify why it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bit of an echo chamber on Twitter, but looking at like the Evertonians on that, everyone's saying this is a bad idea, even though we stand to benefit from it because we do. It just looks like a bad idea. And
yeah, I don't like it at all. I think there just appear to be a natural trade-off for me between helping clubs further down the footballing pyramid and 6 clubs effectively having the autonomy to do whatever they want in regards to the decision making. You know, that doesn't feel like a natural give and take process. And you know, while you know, seeing Rick Parry doing his interview today saying, you know, these clubs should be championed for, you know, reaching out and trying to help people and stuff like that. You think, come on, how dim-witted do you think everybody is? You know, it's quite clear what this is. And you know, I was sort of saying in one of the WhatsApp groups yesterday, it's a classic. It's just like a classic mob tactic. This where you help out a toiling business, and then they're sort of forever indebted to you. But because they've got systemic issues there, which have you know, contributed to them getting in a bad position anyway, the issues still remain even after you've loaned money off them, and things don't get sorted, and eventually things go wrong anyway, and then the people who, you know, the mob, so to speak, sort of are there to pick up the pieces anyway. And you know, that's sort of what it feels like. It's like, well, it's going to take a lot more to help out these clubs and help out the Football League and the structure of the Football League than just going, here's a load of money and we'll decide what happens with you from now on. That's not a solution. You know, there needs to be an independent body that vets ownership. There needs to be more education in regards to running a football club. There needs to be more investment in academy setups. There needs to be so many different things that are done at that level to help clubs be, you know, to ensure they stay solvent effectively. You know, it's going to be a challenging time for everyone. So that needs to be done. But I think a consequence of investing, you know, the natural consequence of investing money in the lower leagues and giving money to the lower leagues is not to say to the top 6, you make all the decisions from now on. It's not a natural trade-off, that. And the fact that clubs at the top of the pyramid could veto ownership changes of other clubs, potentially you might look to rival them. No, but you know, the Newcastle deal got, you know, put on hold by it got scrapped in it by the Premier League because of concerns over the ownership and all that sort of thing, which is absolutely fine. But say if Newcastle had like a valid owner coming in who didn't really have any sort of baggage, you know, who weren't involved in what the Saudis were, and they were sort of saying, right, we're going to invest millions and millions of pounds into this football club and try and make Newcastle United the force again. Do you think for any second that ownership is going to get passed by the teams at the top? Absolutely no chance. absolutely no chance. And that's dangerous, doesn't it? It dilutes the competition.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole thing, it feels sterile a bit as it is now, but it makes it even more sterile. It just becomes a procession and a bit of a mini league in itself. So, yeah. Sorry, ran a bit there, mate, but it's not for me at all.
No, I'm fully into that. I think the mob analogy is absolutely perfect for it. That's exactly what it seems like. And I think I'd hope, obviously it's too soon for any clubs to really comment on it because it's sort of still in the nascent stages, isn't it? But I would like Everton to distance themselves from this as quickly as possible and say, look, we don't want any part in this because it's not what our club's about, and we never want our club to be about that. I know we need to grow, and we sort of say, well, we don't want to sell out to like the Reds have done basically, but I know you need to grow and you need to make your club more global, but you don't have to do stuff like that. It's completely unethical, the whole thing.
Yeah, totally agree. And I've said this on Twitter, said it this morning on the show as well. I'm all for ideas and proposals on how to make football better, how to make the Premier League better, how to make the Football League better. And I think, it's needed. Someone needs to take leadership over this. But because that's true, doesn't make this project and these ideas necessarily good. Just because no one else is doing it doesn't mean that it's good to give power to, a certain section of clubs at the top end of the footballing pyramid. They just don't get it.
Yeah, no, not at all. That'll be another good one for the comments as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's thoughts on this. See if there are any Evertonians out there who think it's a good idea because the club could profit from it. I don't, and I don't think we should go down that route, but it'd be interesting to hear all sorts of thoughts, what people have got on it. That's all for today then.
Good stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. What's coming up in the week?
So tonight, so we had mailbag yesterday, which me and you were on. That was on Blue Room Extra with Ryan and Owen Parks. Controversial tactics. Won't need to tell people who from. Some controversial tactics employed on that. You mentioned Blue Room Breakfast. That was off this morning, me and Dave. You're joining me on that tomorrow, aren't you, as well?
I'll be on tomorrow, yeah.
We'll go through all the overnight stories from Everton in the morning. Coming up today is 2 more shows on Blue Room Extra. So that's patreon.com/Blue Room Extra. I'm doing a stats pack with Matt Cheatham in about, they're saying that this will go out a bit later on, but this afternoon. So that'll be out by the time this goes out on YouTube tonight. And then Dave is joining Ben Crawford for Monday show, which will be going out a bit later this evening as well. And then we've got Subs Weekly, weekend preview, all that sort of thing coming up later this week as well, ahead of the derby. So, looking forward to it. Should be a good week. Yeah, Belter, Viva Hate Week. Here we go. Right, cheers, Matt. Thanks to everyone for watching. Give us a subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll catch you later on in the week for What's the Score?